if the Bulls don't move some of these expirings, that they can still be a part of deals even after becoming unrestricted free agents. So just keep that in mind as well, right? But then let's get into option 2. One, smaller but smart trades, aka be sellers, right? That means that you're not necessarily making the big swing trades that don't necessarily make you a super better team now. It could be to stack assets. That's one of the most common ones in this. So use your expiring contracts to say, hey, you want Kevin Huerter? Cool. We'll take whatever expiring money that you have, so we maintain an expiring, but we want to protect it first, or we want a couple of seconds, whatever it is, right? That's still very much a realistic option here for the Bulls, and I do think in a lot of ways it's the safer option, and thus I think that it could be something that AK does do, is that he plays it safer in that case, and you see the smaller moves, not necessarily the big swing moves, and that's what we've heard, for the majority of the season. We heard that the Bulls were probably going to be sellers, meaning that Kobe, Ayo, Huerter, Zach Collins, Jalen Smith, Trey Jones, like these players that teams that are trying to load up for a playoff run, that they could want on their team that can help their roster, help their playoff run. And that's what we've heard. And I still think that may be one of the most likely scenarios. In this case, you're probably getting draft picks, or you're getting a young player back on a roster that thinks they're championship ready, and they don't have time for that young player to develop. Think Juan Behringer with the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? A lot of Bulls fans want that guy if Kobe or Trey Jones or somebody goes to Minnesota. So think moves like that, right? So moves that on paper don't necessarily change your win-loss total right now, but they do give you a nice young piece to develop, which is kind of what we've seen AK do in a different way. Like Josh Giddey was a young player that clearly was ready for a new role that wasn't going to be there for him in OKC, and he's blossomed into that. So that type of move, I do know there's a large segment of Bulls fans that if that's the move that they do, they're just going to complain about it. But, it's still a realistic option that you move players that you may still want, that Bulls fans may like, and that you get a piece that you may need in the future, that you can develop for the future. That's still a big, realistic option here for the Chicago Bulls. And I still think that it may be the second most realistic, because I just don't see the Bulls being huge buyers, but we'll talk about that here in a second, right? So that's it. Like draft picks, young players, you're prioritizing those type of things, not necessarily going full tank like some Bulls fans want to do either, but not being buyers, somewhere in the middle of that. Then the next option, of course, is to be buyers, is to use your expiring contracts, to use your draft picks, and go out there and try to get you a star. And reportedly, there are a number of ones that are